The Phantom Unit, a paranormal anomaly neutralization team, was born out of necessity during a time when the world faced an unprecedented rise in cryptid and supernatural activity. Formed in 1980 as a top-secret black ops group, the unit was composed of elite soldiers from the United States' most renowned special forces, Navy SEALs, Army Rangers, and Green Berets, alongside the United Kingdom's Tier 1 operatives including the SAS and the elusive E Squadron. This coalition of the world's best was tasked with one mission: hunt and neutralize threats beyond normal comprehension. The world needed a team that could eliminate these otherworldly dangers, and the Phantoms answered that call. But as soon as one darkness was vanquished, another would crawl from the abyss. It was as if the world's shadows themselves were alive, restless, and constantly growing. The year was 1983, just a few years after the unit's formation. They had undergone extensive, grueling training to prepare for the unthinkable. Their previous backgrounds in special forces had already molded them into the deadliest human soldiers alive, but their new mission required even more: psychological resilience against the paranormal, occult knowledge, and an arsenal that included not only state-of-the-art weapons, but also artifacts forged to combat dark forces. Eager for their first major operation, they were handed a mission that would test every ounce of their skill and sanity. It was the height of the satanic panic, a time when rumors of devil-worshipping cults and sinister rituals gripped the nation. The news media screamed of satanic symbols, blood rituals, and human sacrifices. Occultism flourished in secret corners of society, and one particularly dangerous group emerged in a quiet, unassuming town a few hours outside of Los Angeles. This cult wasn't just a collection of devil-worshipping enthusiasts. They had deep connections to a web of corruption that included low-level street gangs, local law enforcement, and even powerful businessmen and politicians. This cult, known as the Children of the Morning Star, had infiltrated many layers of society, but at the top of their hierarchy were not just criminals or corrupted officials, but witches and warlocks, true practitioners of dark arts. They worshipped Lucifer as their creator, their only objective to spread chaos and destruction by pulling the strings of society from within the walls of organized religion and political influence. Their influence stretched from coast to coast, hidden in compounds disguised as religious retreats, with followers who believed they were merely part of a larger spiritual movement. The Phantoms were called in to deal with a particularly dire situation. A series of kidnappings had left the small California town in panic. The local authorities, either compromised or too afraid to act, insisted that the disappearances were unrelated to the cult, but intelligence indicated otherwise. The cult was gearing up for a massive ritual sacrifice under the approaching blood moon, and all signs pointed to the involvement of a high priestess known as Lilith, a woman believed by the cult to be Lucifer's bride. Reports suggested she was possessed by a powerful entity, one of the highest-ranking demons under Lucifer himself. She wielded supernatural powers and was considered extremely dangerous. The mission objective was clear: eliminate Lilith, rescue any surviving captives, and uncover the extent of the cult's influence and future plans. The Phantoms, 6 of the most highly trained operatives on the planet, were briefed and deployed by helicopter to a nearby military base. From there, they took 2 blacked-out SUVs to a location just outside the cult's compound, a sprawling mansion deep within the woods, hidden from the eyes of the public. It was now 7:30 p.m., and the last rays of sunlight were fading, casting long shadows over the forest. As they parked, the air grew heavy, the atmosphere thick with an unsettling energy. The mansion, once a luxurious estate, now stood as a temple of dark rituals. Its whitewashed walls were pristine, hiding the horrors that occurred within. The cult, dressed in white robes, stood gathered in the courtyard. An older woman stood on a raised platform, draped in black with striking white and silver hair, a stark contrast to the other cult members. This was Lilith, and she commanded authority with an air of malevolent grace. She gazed toward the blood moon that began to rise in the sky, preparing for the night's ritual. The Phantoms split up, taking tactical positions around the perimeter, waiting for the right moment to strike. The plan was to move swiftly, neutralize the cult members, and secure the mansion. But as they waited, a chilling silence fell over the compound. Suddenly, every cult member turned in unison, their blackened eyes staring directly toward the phantoms' hidden positions. Without hesitation, the battle began. Cultists, possessed by dark entities, charged with inhuman speed and strength, engaging the phantoms in brutal close-quarters combat. These weren't ordinary humans anymore. They were faster, stronger, and seemingly impervious to pain. The phantoms fought with deadly precision, using not only their combat skills, but specialized weapons designed to fight the paranormal. Silver-lace bullets, runic blades, and EMP-like devices that disrupted the cultists' supernatural enhancements. The fight was savage, pushing the phantoms to their limits, but they were victorious, dispatching the majority of the cultists outside the mansion. With the outer compound secured, the phantoms regrouped and approached the mansion itself. Breaching the entrance, they moved methodically through the halls, clearing rooms as they went. Occult symbols adorned the walls, pentagrams, ancient sigils, and dark runes that pulsed with eerie energy. Strange artifacts filled the mansion, cursed objects, ancient tomes, and relics from forgotten times. Everything about the place reeked of dark magic. At last, they reached the basement. A long, dungeon-like corridor led them to a massive chamber. There, at the center of a pentagram, surrounded by flickering candles, stood Lilith, fully possessed. Her body levitated above the ground, her eyes glowing with a hellish light. 3 warlocks, even more powerful than the cultists outside, flanked her. Their black eyes and snarling faces indicated they were no longer human either, fully possessed by ancient demons. Lilith, her voice no longer her own, spoke with the booming authority of the Prince of Darkness himself. "You are too late, mortals. The age of man is over. The new dawn begins." The battle that followed was nothing short of apocalyptic. The warlocks unleashed blasts of dark energy, their supernatural speed and strength making them nearly invincible. The phantoms fought valiantly, but the tide of battle was brutal. One of the phantoms was taken down by a warlock. His neck snapped like a twig. Another fell to Lilith, who conjured a blade of pure dark energy and struck him down before he could react. Despite their losses, the remaining phantoms pushed forward, using every weapon in their arsenal. Their state-of-the-art gear combined with their relentless training proved too much even for the dark forces at play. One by one, the warlocks were taken down, and finally Lilith herself fell to a hail of silver bullets and runic blades. The phantoms stood victorious, but at a cost. 2 of their own were gone, fallen in the line of duty. As they surveyed the aftermath, they discovered a hidden door leading to a sub-basement. Inside, they found the kidnapped survivors, terrified but alive. But more chillingly, they uncovered evidence of a much larger, more sinister plot. The children of the Morning Star were only the beginning. This was no isolated cult. There were others, spread across the country, pulling the strings of society from the shadows. As the phantoms gathered the survivors and prepared to extract, one of the team members discovered something hidden beneath the stone floor of the basement. Unearthed from the shadows was an ancient tablet, inscribed with Sumerian cuneiform, its surface worn by centuries but still legible. The carvings depicted a sinister entity, towering and twisted, with malevolent eyes that seemed to watch them even from the stone. The script, although partially deciphered, spoke of a long-forgotten evil, one that predated humanity itself. This discovery hinted at a far darker force orchestrating events from behind the veil, and the phantoms realized they had only scratched the surface of a much deeper, ancient conspiracy. The phantoms had won the battle, but the war had only just begun.